Hello everyone, hope you guys are having a good day. It is March 30th, and today I'm back with another video. Today we're going to be talking about today and tomorrow's severe weather, and we're also going to talk about maybe a potential significant winter storm for the interior Northeast. So let's go ahead and get started. So today we do have a marginal risk for areas of Texas all the way into southern Kentucky. And tomorrow, as you guys can see, we do have a slight risk. So not terribly active like we've had for the past 2 weeks of severe weather. We don't have any like enhanced or high risks, which is very good. But we do still have some severe weather. We have a marginal today, a slight risk tomorrow, and a marginal on Wednesday. And severe weather is also kind of active, or not severe weather. I'm sorry, fire. There is some pretty significant fire risks. This is today. Critical fire danger in areas of Arizona, New Mexico, and Texas, and also we have an elevated concern in areas of the plains like Nebraska down into Kansas and into western Iowa and northwestern Missouri. So fire is also an issue too. But let's go ahead and look at models for today. So we're using Weather Nerds. I haven't used this site in a while, but I like it because you can actually choose or draw what sector you want to zoom in on, so you can kind of get what you want. So we're going to start off by looking at simulated reflectivity, and this is around 7 to 8 p.m. tonight. Sorry, our cold front's back here. We have a warm front kind of moving through this area, and that's going to trigger some thunderstorms, kind of like this. The HRRR indicates the strongest storms at around 7 to 8 p.m. They're going to be located in northeastern Louisiana, into Mississippi and Arkansas. Nothing that looks too interesting now with this run. But then those move to the northeast. Maybe even a few supercells could occur. And a lot of heavy rain too in areas that don't need it, like northern Mississippi and areas of Tennessee. And then that kind of forms into a line. Then by tomorrow afternoon, that line kind of re-strengthens in the southeast. And in our slight risk, came out at 1:30. It's kind of in this area. You can see that looks like a nice line of maybe significant damaging wind risk as it moves to the southeast. So yeah, that is tomorrow. Now, let's look at some ingredients here. So let's look at CAPE real quick. We're gonna look at mixed layer CAPE. Let's just let it load. It's a problem with Weather Nerds is it takes a while to load, but yeah. So we can see this afternoon we have decent instability across Texas, Arkansas, maybe even areas of Oklahoma, Louisiana, Mississippi. Along this front, we can see the warm front's kind of like this. The highest instability is located right in the Architects, sorry, where we have around 1,500 CAPE, so pretty nice. And then that moves, as the front moves to the southeast, tomorrow we do have more CAPE also, once again, in areas of Alabama, Georgia, Mississippi, Louisiana, Texas, where we have our severe weather risk, and our slight risk is right here, where we have our cold front with a lot of instability and a lot of lift also. And we can also look at that lift. We can go to severe. Once again, we can look at things like, I want to look at surface lapse rates. I don't think we can do that on Weather Nerds, but we can look at we can look at let's look at 500 to 700 lapses. This is kind of further up than I wanted to look at, but this can also tell us if we have or what our hail risk could look like. So we don't have a whole lot of or a ton of cold air aloft tomorrow. We do have a lot though for the south. We have lapse rates of around maybe 7 to maybe even 7.5 in some areas of Mississippi, maybe extreme northwestern Alabama and Louisiana and Texas. Those lapse rates aren't that rare for Texas, but they're not really rare, but we don't really see this a whole lot in this area. And this is actually a very strong cold front. Behind this it's going to be we're going to have temperatures well below average and even maybe freezing temperatures, making it as far south as central Alabama and central Georgia. So we're going to also kind of talk about that for a little bit later in the video. But you can see we have colder temperatures aloft. Now we could have I'm expecting maybe a 2 or 5% hail risk tomorrow, potentially. I don't think we're going to get like a 15 sig or anything out of this, but a 5 sig is definitely possible now. Let's take some soundings. We're going to look at the NAM 3 for soundings. Let's take some soundings tonight. This is actually kind of early Wednesday morning. Let's take one right around the Memphis area. And this is kind of interesting. This is actually not really capped. We do have a little bit of capping at the surface, but overall the sounding looks pretty nice. We have 66-degree dew point, decent amount of shear. That Hodo is enlarged and curved. Critical angle is 68 also, so this is not a terrible sounding. Large hail wouldn't really be a significant problem with the sounding. What you would get out of this sounding is maybe a 2 to a 5% tornado risk and maybe also damaging wind threat. Of maybe a chance of some smaller hail. Nothing significant size, or no significant size hail out of that sounding though. Let's take one later, later in the day Wednesday. So this is still before sunrise, but let's take one in northern Mississippi, kind of in front of this line, and pretty interesting. Once again, we have decent shear, 68-degree dew point. This is contaminated, so we're gonna get a new one, because we don't want contaminated sounding. So let's take one in kind of right around the Mississippi-Alabama border. This is kind of good looking. We have decent shear, a 66-degree dew point, and cape is a limit, or instability is a little limited, but this is manageable to keep a squall line going through the night. This will keep it going for a little bit. This kind of instability, and lapse rates are not that significant. I'm not expecting really a hail risk during or by like early Wednesday morning. The hail risk will go up maybe later in the day Wednesday, but I'm not expecting a large hail risk maybe like late at night until like I'm talking like 3 or 4 a.m. Wednesday morning. I'm not expecting a very significant hail risk at all with this. You can see that line is southeast and it re-strengthens during the day on Wednesday. Let's take some soundings once again. Let's take one in east central Alabama, and not extremely impressive, but we do have plenty of instability. This is actually decent instability for Alabama. We have a 73-degree dew point, decent surface lapses, and not really steep lapses as you go further up, though. That could limit the large hail threat. But this Hodo doesn't look bad. I would say by tomorrow we could maybe have a 5% risk. And actually, let's go here. No, we don't have a 5% out, but I wouldn't be surprised if they do put a 5% out maybe for this area. Only problem is that storm mode doesn't look too good. Doesn't look like we're going to have the right type of storm mode for supercell thunderstorms and maybe lawn track tornadoes, but I wouldn't be surprised if we have a few brief spin-up tornadoes. Take some soundings later in the day. We'll take a few in Georgia and then maybe even South Carolina. This one, not too impressive. This would mean this shear profile and this Hodo would likely favor a messy storm mode with maybe linear storms also. This instability, though, is not bad. We're still over 1,000 cape. That's not terrible. And not a terrible sounding. Let's go up into upstate South Carolina. See what we have here. This is not a bad sounding. We have decent shear. This is a little bit better shear-wise, actually. And we still have decent cape. We still have a little bit over 1,000. And Hodo doesn't look too bad still. This is not going to really... This could favor maybe some... We could maybe have some embedded supercells, maybe some HP supercells, but I'd say mainly storm mode is just going to be linear or messy. But I think we could have a few short-lived tornadoes, and I don't think they're going to be strong. Take a sounding in northern South Carolina here. Not really the upstate anymore, but this is not bad shear. This is better shear. Hodo still looks good, but that kind of looks messy. We still have a decent amount of cape, a little bit lower, but the cape, or we still have enough instability. So I definitely say maybe they could extend the slight risk further to the northeast by tomorrow. I'd say the slight risk could look like this. I'm thinking this area. I don't think this is going to go enhanced. If it does go enhanced, I'm thinking probably this area for that. But if they do, they could extend the slight risk into maybe North Carolina, South Carolina, maybe Georgia also. I think this area up here, if the NAM 3 happens, could maybe need another slight risk. And if they connect those, I don't know. Now let's go to the HRRR, because the HRRR is going to be different, of course. So the HRRR indicates it's kind of the similar thing. It doesn't have this area getting hit too hard up here, though. But that's just reflectivity. Let's take some soundings, though, so we can see what's actually going on. This is not as impressive as the NAM3 though. We don't have as much ML cape. We still have a decent amount of surface cape. Actually, pretty good surface cape. Surface lapse rates are actually really good, or not really good. They're decent. We don't have a whole lot of shear though, only around 20 knots, and speed shear doesn't look too good. This would not favor a giant or a large tornado threat at all. You only get probably really weak and short-lived tornadoes out of this, unless you have like a cyclic supercell. But that Hoda doesn't look too good either. But it does look okay for maybe an isolated brief tornado. Take some soundings in Alabama, Mississippi. This is kind of interesting. We have still 1,000 cape. Shear is there. Still mainly not, or not really. Wind's not really turning a whole lot though. But the Hodo once again looks kind of messy, but it does look decent. So the HRRR seems to favor this further south more, like areas of Mississippi, Alabama, and western Georgia, where the NAM3 kind of wants this area to get hit the worst. And so yeah, that's kind of interesting. Normally the HRRR shows the most activity happening, and the NAM3 kind of NAM3 sometimes has a linear bias. But it seems like the HRRR is actually, or the NAM3 is actually showing more than the HRRR. So that's kind of interesting. But yeah, so the SPC could extend the slight risk, maybe into this area, if we get enough afternoon heating and enough instability. Now let's switch topics here. Let's talk about winter weather, because we are going to have a potential winter storm across the Northeast. And this is getting into kind of late Wednesday night. We have a little bit of snow on the backside of this, going down even into Tennessee and up into New York. Even some areas of heavy snow. The chances are, this actually has been trending upwards, or trending up towards maybe even more accumulating snow. We can see during the day, or the night, Wednesday night and the Thursday morning, we have a lot of snow across central, western New York. There's a lot of moderate, maybe even some heavy snow. And even we might even have some more lake effect and wraparound moisture, bringing even more snow showers during the day Thursday to that area. So there's a good chance that area could see a decent amount of accumulating snow. Let's take a look at total snowfall with the Gachera ratio. And because I like this better than the NAM3, or not the NAM3, I'm sorry, better than the 10-1 this time of year, especially because temperatures are normally more of a problem. Because this is early April. Now this is April 1st and April 2nd what we're looking at. But we can see a lot of snow, even some maybe like a half an inch to maybe a quarter of an inch in areas of the higher elevations of eastern Tennessee, western North Carolina, maybe even a few inches in some of those peaks, and maybe maybe even a foot of snow isolated in some areas of northern and central New York, even extreme western Maine. You can't rule that out. But it's going to be kind of a close call between rain, freezing rain, or sleet and snow. But we can see definitely one of the most significant winter storms we've had in a couple weeks for the Northeast. So let's go to the European and see what the Euro is saying. We're going to go back to precipitation type. And the Euro shows pretty much the same thing, maybe a good chance of accumulating snow across northern PA. I'd say the Euro might favor PA a little bit more than the GFS did, but still plenty of snow for New York. Even some snow going all the way down into the southern Appalachians. So, pretty significant winter storm. Even maybe some accumulating snow and ice in areas of Vermont, going down into western Massachusetts during the night, or maybe even during the day Thursday. So, that's still pretty significant. We got the 10-1 ratio with the Euro, and we can see pretty much kind of similar to the GFS with several inches across New York. Maybe even localized up to around 10, maybe even a foot if you're extremely lucky. So, kind of a cool little winter storm. But yeah, that'll wrap up this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Thank you guys for watching, and yeah, goodbye.